Well, here we go again. And I was reading through some articles the other day, and I came across a politician who thought that the UK needs to increase its population. And immediately I thought, what new madness is this? Because the UK is overpopulated. It's overpopulated already, and most people in the UK will admit that, except the politicians, who want more and more immigration, so that they have more and more people who will vote for the people that let them in. And this is insane, because these parties know that if they didn't have a lot of immigrants, they would not get the votes. Now, why do I say that the UK is overpopulated? It's not just because it's very difficult to go anywhere in the country and see somewhere that doesn't bear the stamp of man's progress. No. Let's go back to World War II. Rationing. Now, you may have grandparents who remember rationing, and they remember feeling that they were starving. Well, during World War II, the population of the country was around 47 million, and there was 24,000 square miles of this country set aside for agriculture, and that was including every single scrap of available land under the Dig for Victory campaign. Even Hyde Park and a lot of city parks got dug up, and potatoes were planted and all the rest of it to feed England's people, because it was very difficult to get in any supplies from overseas. Now, there's been a lot of studies on how much land it takes to support a person. Now, every person to live the way we're living at the moment needs between 0.5 and 0.6 hectares of land to support them. And our hectare is 10,000 metres square, so it's a reasonably large amount of land. And that's if you want meat in your diet and dairy in your diet, because you've got to have room for the animals, so on and so forth. Now, the absolute minimum to survive, and this assumes that everything in the garden is rosy, that there's enough rain, that the crops grow fine, there's sunshine when there should be sunshine, there's no weather disasters. 0.1 hectares per person, and that's no meat and no dairy. That's a vegetarian diet with maybe the occasional fish if you can find some. And this is really the sort of diet that there was in World War II. The only difference is that in World War II we had 0.13 hectares of land per person, and that seems right looking at what was in the rations. Very small meat ration, lots of veg, and people were complaining on that diet that they were starving. So if we were to have the sea lanes cut off now by a new European war, and remember that war in Europe is currently looking quite likely, then we have 4,000 square miles less land than we did then. And the reason for that is new building, new towns, new roads, blah de blah. There's a lot of agricultural land that has been used for obviously non-agricultural purposes. But our population has ballooned up to 63 million. That's the best estimate at the moment. And that is 0.08 hectares of land per person, and that's below the subsistence level, so people will starve if that happens. If food from overseas is cut off due to oil shortages, due to war, due to trade disagreements, due to sanctions, due to any cause you can think of, barring possibly Godzilla, then the population will actually starve until the number of people reaches around 51 million, and then they'll just about survive. And we have politicians turning round and saying, oh, we've got to increase our population, we need more people, England is falling behind. And they seem to be thinking that more people equals more prosperity, and forgetting that more people equals more costs. Now, Germany is around about 3 times our size. They have a population of 81 million. So that's 1.25 times more people in a country nearly 3 times the size. So Germany's probably about right. However, on UN figures, if the UK keeps on growing as it is, with the amount of immigration that we have, then we will have a higher number of people than Germany by 2050. Now you think about what that means, not just in terms of stress and strain on our creaking welfare benefits and health systems, but you think about what that means in terms of food. Now we already import 60% of what we eat because we like eating good things, and the UK currently doesn't produce very much in the way of agriculture because the policy has been to drive agriculture down. We've got plenty of sheep, we've got plenty of inedible GM crops which are grown for the purpose of producing drugs. We have plenty of inedible crops such as oilseed rape, which are grown for so-called fuel purposes, although if you do the maths that doesn't really actually work. What we're not producing is food. Now if someone suddenly, let's say America suddenly turned around and said, right, America is at war with X, and that X person happens to be in Europe, or is maybe Russia or China, then how much food do you think we would actually be able to ship into the country? Bearing in mind there's going to be no fuel oil. Very little. In fact, we'll be in a similar situation to World War II, but with nearly half again the population. It's just not going to work. People are going to starve, people are going to die in the streets. Now, if anything, we need to reduce our population, and there's been a lot of suggestions recently that it gets reduced to about 30 million. The problem is, how do you do that? Because you can't just take people, put them on the streets, line them up and machine gun them down. This is not that sort of a country. You can't do the Enoch Powell solution and send them back to where they came from, because in very many cases where they came from won't accept them. Where they came from might possibly kill them. And in a lot of cases also there's been so many generations of immigrants that where they came from is in fact here. So this is a big headache, and the only way we're going to solve it probably is by going the China route, by limiting the number of births, 1 per couple, and by stopping immigration dead in its tracks. But Europe won't let us do that. So we can't really do anything about it until we leave Europe. It's another thing that Europe stops us from doing, another problem that Europe stops us from actually solving. And if you want to know about that, then look on my channel for the we've got to leave Europe within X months video, and that will tell you why in fact at the moment we can't leave Europe really. So we're stuck. Never mind, we'll find a way out of it somehow. I'm just hoping that that way out doesn't involve killing about 20 million people. Anyway, sorry about the bad news again. See you soon.